Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, welcome. So I've been a self-published author for about 3 years now, and one of the things I've noticed that people don't really talk about a whole lot is money. Nobody really talks about how much money they make off of this, and I know it's pretty taboo in pretty much every field to talk about how much money you make because it's considered bragging or for whatever other reason, but today I wanted to be totally transparent and come on here and talk about how much money I made in 2023 off of my books, in the hopes that if you are a self-published author or if you're planning to be one, you can kind of help yourself set realistic expectations for what it's going to be like. I'm going to be totally honest and say that 2023 was personally the best year that I've ever had in self-publishing because it was literally the only year since 2021 that I have ever profited. I'm going to talk about revenue first, but I am definitely going to talk about profit as well because I do find that a lot of creators in different fields who make these types of videos where they talk about how much money they've made in a year, they're really only talking about the revenue, and I guess that's just because it's a more impressive number, but I really don't want to set any unrealistic expectations for what self-publishing a book looks like, so I am going to be talking about both. So without further ado, let's get into it. I publish through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, which is a free self-publishing platform. However, they do take 40% from your paperback sales online, and they also deduct a printing cost as well. This printing cost is dependent on how many pages your book is. So my first book, Stay Strong, I make a total profit of $5.95 off of each online sale, and that one is the least profitable for me because it is the longest book I have. It's about 300 pages for reference. My second book, The Other Half of Me, I profit a total of $6.51 per book, and this book is about 250 to 260 pages, and that one is my most profitable one. And my third book, Where the Sun Won't Shine, I make a total of $6.37 per book when I make online sales. Ebooks work a little bit differently through Amazon KDP. So instead of taking the 40% like they do for the paperbacks, they take 30% instead. But I think there is a small delivery fee, I guess, when you order an ebook and it goes directly to your Kindle. So I sell my ebooks for $2.99 each, and I make about $2 per book. I do have a few other revenue sources that aren't just from Amazon, but I do want to talk about just for a second how I have my books enrolled in Kindle Unlimited. So basically, if you're subscribed to Kindle Unlimited, you can read my books for free, and I do get paid based on the amount of pages read. And the other two revenue sources that I have are markets, so like vendor and craft shows, which is where most of my revenue has come from. And I also have my books featured in 2 local stores. One has been pretty regularly selling my copies, and the other one not so much. But I definitely get some money at least every month from one of them. One of the stores is a local bookstore, and I'm very fortunate that they don't charge any fees for keeping your books in there, but I haven't really heard much from them in a while, and that's not my biggest revenue source. But the other store is located in a big mall in our city. They sell my books for $20, and I usually make about $15 per book when a sale happens at that store. So now we'll get into the numbers. I didn't really do any vendor markets until around the summertime, so you'll see that for the first few months, the revenue is pretty low. So for January, I made a total of $25.11, and most of that was through online sales through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. February is $11.24, again, same thing. And March, I made $109.20, and I did have one vendor show there where I sold 5 books. April, I made $21.47. Again, this is revenue, not profit. May, I made $38.76. June, I made $611.71. And this was my first market of the year. I had one incredibly successful event where I did sell, I believe it was 15 books. I think it was 13. But regardless, I don't know if I had any other shows before that. I can't remember. But I did also have a few online sales that month. July, I made $101.89. August, the vendor show started to pick back up again, and I made $378.57. And now this is where it started to get more busy for me. September, I made $597.38. And this is almost kind of where the Christmas season has started, believe it or not, even early in September. So a lot of my vendor shows, I was having them almost every weekend, and they were incredibly busy. So for October, I made $640.90, where again, I had a lot of very successful vendor markets. And November was my best month by far, and it was $697.58. And finally, in December, I made $317.58. So that brings my total revenue for 2023 to $3,551.39. And total profit was $1,162.15. Now that might not seem like a lot to some people, but to me it was a lot considering last year I calculated my numbers and my profit was negative $230. That's right, I did not profit at all. So like any other business model, unfortunately, you have to spend money to make money, and there were some months where I definitely wasn't profiting at all. I'm just counting this as the total for the year, but my income definitely fluctuated throughout the year, and a lot of that has to do with seasons. Like, of course, Christmas is going to be a lot busier, sometimes summer as well, because the kids are out of school and there's other things to do. So there were a lot of other events going on while I was doing my vendor shows, like including bouncy castles, car shows, all that kind of stuff. So my income definitely fluctuated during those months. And I also want to note that I only do this part-time. I do have a full-time income, so I didn't have as much time necessarily to dedicate to doing these vendor shows. My numbers would probably look a little bit differently if I was able to do this full-time. So the biggest part of my spending last year definitely had to do with running Amazon ads, and this year I decided that I didn't want to do that because I was spending a lot more than I was making. So this year, the bulk of my costs ended up going towards vendor tables at these events, and typically they could be anywhere from $25 to $50 per table. And I was very fortunate for some of these. I had another author to share a table with, so if the cost was $50 for the table, then we would split it and I would be paying $25. So again, I'm very fortunate for that opportunity. But of course I am also counting the cost of ordering my books because it does definitely cost a pretty penny sometimes. But I'm also counting business cards and other kinds of collateral that I might have at my table. I've also run a couple ads this year, not much, but there's a few online platforms where you can spend to have your book featured in an email blast where it's like a book deal of the day that I've paid a couple times to do. And I've also run at least one Instagram ad, which at that point you get to set your own budget. So I paid like $25 to run it for 7 days. The other thing that you can do for vendor shows, which I haven't looked into yet, but I'm definitely going to by the time tax season comes around, is to look at the amount of money I've spent on gas to and from these shows. And most of them are within my city, so it's not too far, but I have done a couple out of town ones where I've driven like an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to. And there was one where I drove 3 hours each way. So I'm definitely going to try and look into that and see if I can factor that into my costs. So I know that this is a little bit of a short video, but I really do hope that it helped you if you are planning on self-publishing in the future. And if you're curious, my books are linked in the description if you would like to purchase them. And as always, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, definitely leave me a comment down below and I will be sure to get back to them. So thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye!